Okay. Yes. Today I want to create, I'm not going to be using this. I have a blank Power BI, which I already um, opened up. Where's my blank Power BI? Okay. But I also guess that you have also downloaded the Power BI desktop. Come on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I install that. Okay. Now you can see my screen. Can you see Power BI desktop on my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay. Now, remember the views that I created the last time? Those are the views that we're going to be using today. Okay. So when you open your Power BI desktop, it comes out like this. And this is the Power BI desktop canvas. And the first thing you will see is hard data because it is data driven. And you have different data sources. These are just the most commonly used one. That's why they're here. But then there are quite a number of over 160 something data sources. Okay. The top here is your menu bar. So you see you have home, you have insert, you have modeling, view, optimize, and help. And then these are your tasks as well. And here you have the get data, which is what takes you back to connect to your data source. It could be Excel spreadsheet, it could be a text file, it could be a database like SQL, AWS, and so many others. And then here you can see you have Excel as well. Then you can have One Lake. Power BI is changing or has changed, and the One Lake is one of the new assets on the Microsoft Azure platform. So that's it. And then you have direct, you can click on here and then you go into Power BI, sorry, SQL database as well. And then you can enter a blank um, data as well. You can create a blank table and input data or generate data from there. And also you have the Dataverse, which is also another Microsoft data source, right? And then you have the recent data sources, which are the data sources which you have actually used recently. It, they're listed here. And for me, you can see the ones which I've just used recently. And then here you have transform. And the transform takes you to, opens up another window. And that is what takes you to Microsoft Power Query Editor. And for you to ingest data into your Power BI or to import data into your Power BI, you need it connects via what is called the Power Query Editor, which we're going to be going into shortly. And these are some of the other menus which you have. You can have a new visual here. When I click on that, it can bring me, and the same visual which you can access from here, I can also access from here on my left, on my right side, which is where my cursor is um hovering. Okay, and then you can see how these are some of the um, different visuals which you can also bring into your Power BI as well. And then you have here a text box and more. You can have more visuals here. But what you do here when you have more visuals here is you're going into the Microsoft app source, which is where you can access Microsoft certified but not guaranteed um, visuals as well. Sorry, 1 minute, please. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so you can access you can either, some people are so good, they good with Java, they can create their own visuals which actually meets their own requirement. They can create that and then you can import it into Power BI desktop, or you can go to the market here, which I will show you shortly. And these other ones are the calculations which you can also use as well. and your sensitivity, that's the data sensitivity, and then you can share this up, which is your publish to Power BI service as well. And then you have your co-pilot here. And here on the left, you see here it says report view. This is where in the report view, okay, and beneath that is the table view, right? And then beneath that is your model view, and then here it's your DAX query. And the language or the native language for Power BI is DAX. And DAX stands for Data um, Analytics Expression. That is what DAX stands for, DAX. Okay. All right. And that's the language you'll be using. And on the um, Power Query Editor's end of this, it uses the language M, which most of the time is you don't really need to bother about that. You need you don't need to know much about it, but then uh, the engine generates it for you. Just click and it will generate the M language for you. But sometimes if you want to do an advancing, if you're advanced, then you can begin to write your own M query as well. Okay, so today, like I said, let me quickly take you to the store so that you can see what we have there. Where's that? More visuals. If I click on here, and I can also do the same thing, which is from here, and I can also come here. You see these ellipses? I can click on that, and then also will lead me to the same space. So click on here, and then you can see other visuals that are available that you can use, and you can filter on different categories as well. So if you're looking for KPI. Sorry, can you mute yourself? If you're looking for KPI, you can filter for KPIs. You can see these visuals relate to KPI, right? And every other one as well. You can see different categorization. And then you have, if you, like I said, if you are skilled enough to create your own visuals, then you can have them in here as well.
Sorry, just
And
a
then
quick
this,
question here.
yeah,
So if you say you're working for a water company where they are trying to check the analysis for leakage, what view are you going to use in this one? Is it the
there are so many views we can use, but we'll get to that. We'll get to when you begin to make decisions about the views you're going to use or the charts you're
okay?
going to
Cool.
use. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
because I was just concerned as per when you showed these bits where you were showing the
Okay.
visuals, I was just concerned to know which of them will be ideal for this one. Cool, thank you.
Okay. All right. Now, now the next thing is for you to bring in your data. Like I said, you can get data from here. You can see the list, right, of all the different data sources, and there are more. Click on that. It's going to open. You can see, and then you have them categorized as well. Say you're looking for file data sources. These are all the file data sources and database data sources. You have them also different databases or data. Yeah. And then you have Microsoft Fabric, which is a new one, which Microsoft just introduced. And you can see different. And then we have the Power Platform as well, right? You see the metaverse, which you saw there, and then you have the common, and then you have the legacy data flow, and then you have the new one, which is the common data service. And then you have the Azure data sources as well. Azure databases, meaning that all these are in the cloud. And then you have the online ones as well, because you can also bring data from website. You can see different source, even LinkedIn and all the stuff like that. You can ingest data into Power BI from there. And then you have the audits as well, and you can see all those ones. And you have the blank query, which you can also use. And then here, let me see, you have the web, except if they've changed it, there should be something that says HTTP, so meaning that you can connect to a website directly, if you have the necessary API, and then you can ingest data into Power BI as well. Where is that? Let me type in, and you can HTTP. No, they've taken HTTP out. Okay, let me look for web. And then, okay, you can see here you have web. I can use that to connect to the web as well. Okay, so today, like I said, I will be ingesting data which we have created earlier into Power BI desktop, and then we'll be creating visuals from there, right? So for me, I don't go via any of this get data. I normally come here to create a new data source. And my reason is quite simple. I want to go into um, the Power Query editor so that I can do a bit of transformation in there before I come over. So let's go. So I click on transform data. It's open a new page, which is, I'll bring it to 4 now. So it opens this one, and you can see at the top, on the top here, it says Power Query Editor. Okay, Power Query Editor. So if you want create a new one, you can see the data sources and you see it's got more. So if you click on more, it's going to open. But for today, I'm not using web or text or whatever. You can have Excel as well and other stuff like that. So what I'm going to just do today is I'm bringing in from SQL Server. So I select SQL Server, and it's going to take me into that. So now it's asking me for the name of my server. Let me show you how to get that. Okay, this is my SQL, and it's asking me for the name of my server. So I come in here. This is the name of my server. If you know it at the top of your head, you can just easily write it under. So, but this time around, I'm not doing that. I'll just right click on that name there. Right click on that name there, and then select properties. When I select properties, now it's giving me the property of this server. So this is what I need. I'll just copy that, because you have to copy it, or you have to write out the name of your server the correct way, the full. So let me minimize this for a start, and then I paste it here. That's the first one. It says the database is optional, but for me, I don't want to bring in everything. So let me go back to my SQL Server and this one, and this is then my database that I'm using. So I right click, and then I click on rename, and then I'm able to copy that name. I've copied it with Control C. Okay, I've copied that name, and then I'll come back in here and I'll paste as well. Now, you might probably ask you for this one. It says this command time is optional. You don't have to do anything. Most of the time, I don't do anything with this. Most of the time, I just leave it. Okay, so I leave that blank. And then here you have two options. You can either do direct query or import load. Direct query, what it means is that you're connecting to the server, and you are, at any point in time, your report is being consumed, right? Then the engine, that is Power BI engine, your Power BI engine, your Power BI engine. Can you please mute yourself, please? Your Power BI engine goes to the server, connects to the server, and fetch the data for you at that point in time. That means that your data is still resident on your local data source, your server, your database. Your data do not leave. It is only at the point of interaction with your report that the engine goes back, fetch the data, and display the results to you. Okay. And this is mostly used, especially when you want real life and real time information and stuff like that. But then there's a limitation to this. which is all your lifting, that is all the transformation you need to do on your data will can only be done on your database side. You cannot do anything really. You're not, let me say you're not cannot, you can do something, but you are very limited on what you can do with your data on the Power BI side when you are using direct query. Okay, when you are using direct query, you are doing most of it, you're lifting on the database side and not on the Power BI side. Okay, but on the other hand, if you have your data connectivity is import load, which is what we are going to do, what it means is that a copy of your data still remains on your server, on your in your database, but a copy of that data is going to be taken and put into Power BI desktop storage. It is called the Azure Blob storage. And for the free edition, which is what we are using, we have a limit, space limit of 1 gig, a space limit of 1 gig. So if your data gets to 1 gig, then you are not able to ingest new data. All you have to do is to either delete some data or you create another one. But if you're on the pro license, then you have 10 gig. And when I say 1 gig or 10 gig, it is 10 gig or 1 gig per report, not for everything. It's per report. So this time around, we're going to be ingesting from here. We're going to be doing import load. So I click on OK, and is now connecting based on that criteria which I've given it. Is now connecting to my database. You can see it's connected to my database already, and it's now showing me these are all the artifacts which you have. So I know my views, okay, and these are my views which we created the other day, and so I'll just select them. If you at the time you select them, you see it's going to display the content of each of the tables to me. Okay. Where's my views? Okay, this is even a table. So views are represented this way. You can see my views which I created. So I click on this one, select this, select that. Uh, where's even my views? I have quite a few of them. Okay, this is another one. I think this is one of them. Let me see. Let me bring map and then know what I'm actually selecting. That's the table. That's the server right there. So I am selecting everything that has got SOM. Okay, good. So I come back in here and then look at that. Everything that's got SOM is cheaper. Product, employee, sales fat, customers. Okay, yeah. So these are the tables which I will be needing for my report. I've selected. So where are they? Okay, I've selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'll click OK. Now what it's going to do is going to import. Currently, it's not importing yet. It's only just giving me a copy for me to interact with. And when I'm done, it will now ingest that into my Power BI desktop. So this is my all the views. You can see here it's listed them. I have, is that my supplier? Let me see this. There should be another supplier. Let me go back. Now you can see that I have that in there. Which supplier do I have? Do I not create a supplier on that day? Cheaper product. Okay, I'll use that. I can still use that supplier. It still work for me anyway, so no worries. Okay, so Now, this is my table. I can do a bit of transformation here as well. Okay. So now you see on the right side where my cursor is hovering, that is now I can change the name of this table of view right now. So I don't want the WV. So I'll just come in and say the table name in Power BI will be called suppliers. That does not change the name in the database, okay, and does not change the connection as well. It is just my own display name that will be in Power BI, that will be suppliers, right? And view suppliers, okay. And you can see, I can come back in here, click here, and then it can show me how I have ingested that. You can see here it says equals SQL database and the name of my server and the name of my database, okay. So that is that. And now I've changed that. I can click on out anywhere. It's changed the name as well. So I can come back into these ones and then I just do the same thing. I want to call it Sheepers. Instead of Sheeper, I call it Sheepers. And then click anywhere. It's amended the name as well. And this one, I can click products as well. And this one, employees. And this one, I can call it sales, fact sales, because it's the fact in this dispensation. And then here I can change that to customers as well. Now I have all this. If I need to make any change, I can still make some changes here. So look at it here now. Because we have created the view the way I wanted it, so I don't need to do any more change here. No change really. But here, I need to make a change because this is not exactly. So let me see in my sales fact, do I have, okay, I can see why I don't have that. I do not have, I did not have, I wasn't going to deal with shippers, but let me just use that to show you some things. So here, if I don't want, like the shipper ID is there currently and the name and the contact name and the role, but for this purpose, I don't really need to know the name of the contact person. I don't need to know the role and the city or the region. I just okay, okay, I can deal with the city, I can deal with the region, and in fact, because of the information is very sparse, I may take away the region as well. I will leave the country. So now in here, I can still do a bit of transformation to this data. Okay, so in this case, I want to remove um some columns, and then once I remove some of these columns, you're going to see all the steps that I will be performing will be recorded here on this side. And I can easily go back to any of them. I can delete them if I don't want them. But then if you delete one and has a subsequent steps after that, then it's going to affect the subsequent step as well. So if you're going to delete, you have to know the logic. So in this case, I want to take out the customer and contact name, and I also want to take out the role. So I can click on this and then I right click and then I say remove, right? And if I can do that, and I will do that in the for each one. But then if I want to just do it in one scoop, right? I will select this. I'll press down my control button, select this, select this, select this, select this. These are the ones I don't want these two. I've not selected those two. So I right click on anyone. It says remove other columns. So meaning the columns that I have highlighted will remain, but other columns that are not highlighted will be removed. So I click on remove other columns. Okay. You see here, there are two. So be careful with that. Remove columns, meaning the ones you have highlighted to remove them. But this time I want remove the other ones apart from the ones I highlighted. So I click on that and you can see it's removed those two columns. And that step has been recorded here. It says removed other columns. That is the step. And this is now what I have. If I say, for example, nothing to do here again. Okay, we'll see when I get to my date table. Okay, and I can step back and that is that. So I've made a change. I'm okay with it. Now the next thing I want to do, I have my date. I'm sorry, I have all my dimensions and fact, but one thing is missing. In Power BI and in visualization and reporting, sometimes you will need a date table that actually has the dates and other properties that relate to dates for you to use. So the script I sent out on the WhatsApp chat group is actually for this. So let me copy that script. I have it somewhere here. Sorry, give me a second. Let me just locate it. Okay. Come back in here and I'll step back. Ooh, okay. And okay. That's the script. All I have to do is just copy everything, copy. That's all I need. And I come back in here and I select from data sources. I select blank query. Okay, I select that blank query and then I go to advanced editor and it opens this window and I just delete this and paste the one I copied in here. I paste that in and I say done. You can see here it said no syntax error has been detected, so the script is fine. If it gives you a syntax error, meaning there's something which is missing, you probably have not copied it correctly, so you probably will need to go and recopy. Okay, and I click on, and now it is come back to me with this function to enter some parameters because it's going to generate the date for me based on the parameter which I provide. And the parameters to provide is I give it the start and I give it the end and I give it the year start month. So in this case, I know my data for this is from 1996, 97, 98. So I'll say you should start from 1, 1, that is 1st of January, 1996. That is my start date. And then I want it to end at 31st of January. Oh, sorry, 31st of December, 1998. Apparently, I can just remember this one did not start from January 1996. I think it started from June. So I'll put it to June rather than January because I don't want the excess. So I said the first month is 1, which is January. And I click invoke. And you can see it has generated up the dates for me and all the attributes. But some of these attributes I don't need, and we're going to be removing them shortly. So now it's created this for me. I need to do a bit of cleanup. But before I do the cleanup, I will change the name of this function. It says invoked function. I've changed the name to dates because it's my dates table now. Okay. Now I want to bring everything together because this is a query. This is the query. It's still there. And this is the table that it has generated for me. And I want to put them into one folder so that I don't have everything all over the place. What relates to each other, I put them together. So I click on any of these, I right click, And then it says in here, move to a group, move to group. And because there's no group already available here, it says new group, and I say yes to that. And I can give the group a name. In this case, I call it it's my model. And I click OK, and it's going to create that. You can see it's put that into my group. And what I have to do is move everything that relates to that into one same group. So this one, press down your key, press down, press down, press down, and press down. All these ones, I want to move them into here. And then you can see it's moved them into here. And then it's named this one other query. So if I close this one, that query is in here. I'll leave it. That's secured there. So that query is not part of what it will be going into my Power BI desktop, because remember, we're still in Power Query Editor. All right. So now let's do some transformation with the date. The things that I don't need, the columns that I don't need, I'll take them out. So I can do a bit of transformation as well. I know I need the date, I need the year, I need the month, and I need the quarter as well. I don't need the day and all the stuff like that in here. I don't need the number of weeks. I don't need them. All these ones, I don't need them. So all these ones, I don't need them, right? All these ones, I don't need them. So what I can do is select them, and then I can remove columns. It's remove them. I still have more to remove. Uh, I don't need this. Day of month, I don't need it. Day of year, I don't need it. Excuse me. Okay, so let me remove those ones first. Okay, so now I have my date, I have the year, I have the quarter, but I don't want this quarter. I'm going to make a change to that. And then the month as well, the month name, I don't want the month name in full. I want it, because it has September, it's going to be too long. So I want just the first three character in the month name, or 4 characters if I want, but 3 is going to be better. So here, I have that already done out for me. You can see I have that June, July, so this way. So what I will do is I'll create this, and I'll highlight that. I want to use this. I highlight that, and then here it says, you can see when you highlighted this column, it says split column. I said yes, and I'll now select by delimiter. You can use by number of characters, you can use by position as well, you can use by any of these criteria, but I'll use the delimiter in this case. And then it's going to ask me what delimiter. So I said my delimiter in this case is space. You have June and then space 1996. So you can see, you can select whichever criteria you want to use to delimiter. But in this case, the space is okay for me. It says for each occurrence of delimiter, I said yes, that is it, the character, and I'll say okay. You can also see none of that. So I'll say okay, which is this double column stands for space. So I click on OK. And you see it has split this into 2 columns. You can see this. So I don't need this column anymore. So I will be taking it out. But this column, I want to change the name. So for me to change the name of this column, I'll right click, and then you can see rename here. And then I can change it to what I want. And I just want to call it month. Okay, you see it's changed the name. So I don't need this one, and I don't need this one. So I'm going to do the same thing for this gentleman here, which is the quarter in calendar. And then I right click, and then I use the limiter, split column, and then the limiter. I'm going to use the same space, and it's going to split that into 2 for me. So instead of having just the number 2, I have it Q2, Q1, Q3, Q4. So this time I'm going to rename this as quarter, not and click anywhere out, and then it renames that. So now I don't need this. So I start from there. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this, and I don't need this either. So I'll click on remove columns. So it says remove. If I make a mistake, say for example, I clicked on and it removed the columns that I really needed, and I can just come back in here and delete this, and it will go back to the previous state. It will go, but let me do that and you for you to see. When I delete this, it's going to return back. You see, it's returned back those columns again. So I'll just redo it. Remove this, remove this, remove this, and remove this, and remove this. So remove columns, and this is what we have. So now I have the date, I have the year, I have the month, I have the quarter. If I want to rearrange based on what I want, I can do that. So the month, the quarter, then the year should come after that. So I can move this column here. You see, just highlight them, hold down the mouse, and then drag to where you want it, and then drop. And you can see it's moved it about. And you can see it says here, I've reordered the columns. Okay. So I've done the transformation which I need here, and that's me done with manipulating and transforming in Power Query. And what I need to do now is to now move this data. That's yes, I've done my cleanup. Let me move the data now into Power BI desktop. So you click on this, it says close and apply. Click on that, it says close and apply. If I click on apply, it will apply the changes, and that will be permanent. If I click on close, it will not apply the changes. It will just go to Power BI desktop directly. But this, I want it to close it and apply the changes. So I click on close and apply. And now you see it's now brought us, remember there's nothing here previously. You see it's now loading the data into Power BI. So the data is just coming into Power BI now, and you're going to see that here. You can see this is come up, it's a data, and it's going to show up the list of the tables here. And you can see all my tables are now available here. Okay. Now I can view my tables, what is in my tables. For me to do, I say I have here the table view, which is on the left here. Click on that, and then I can begin. You can see my tables. That's my customer table, my date table. This is how it looks. My employee table, my fact table, my product table, my shippers, and my suppliers. Though I don't need the suppliers because there's no relationship to my fact. I didn't create it in the thing. So that is there. So now what I need to do next is to create a relationship. Remember when I started in Power BI, I said there's a relationship. So, and when we were creating this view, we created all the tables had a relationship with the fact table. The dimensions have relationship with the fact table. So Power BI, sometimes we will have done the created the relationship for you if the names matches right. If it recognizes is intelligent enough to know that if the name matches, then if the name do not match, then it will not be able to create it. So you have to go back and manually create the relationship. And you can see it's done that for us because the name relates. But you can see here, because the date table do not relate, and then this do not relate, that is why it's not create the relationship between them. So let's create the relationship. And always good to arrange your model in a way that is neat for easy reading. And I have my customers here. So, and I can shrink them whichever way I want. Come on, come on. Okay. And I can shrink. I don't need so much space like that. Okay. I'll be deleting the supplier because I don't need it. This dispensation. So now, and you can see here, the relationship is already established. And you can see here, every shipper, the shipper, if you remember, the shippers table has just unique record for each shipper. There's no duplicate record. That is why you see one um, occurrence here as many occurrence in the fact table, because this is where all the shipment that this each supplier handles, this is where it is recorded. If they within a month, if a shipper has handled 100 shipment, then it is recorded in the fact table, right? But the dimension table, which is the shippers, is just where you keep the attribute or the properties of that shipper or the shippers. And the same thing goes for every of the other dimensions as well. Okay. So you can see here it says one, and then you see here is star, right? That means one to many. The star represents many. So this is a one to many relationship, one to many relationship. And most of the time, I'll say 99% of the time with Power BI, the relationship has to be a one to many. Though Power BI does allow many to many relationship, but it sometimes messes up your data or your result. So it is always advised that you break down any table that will have a many-to-many relationship into separate individual tables so that it will be result into a one-to-many relationship. Okay. So the relationship has been created. If I click on it, just highlight it and then right click, and then you can see the properties. And then the properties of that relationship comes in this way. It says to from fact sales to shippers. This is what causes, you can see the relationship, shipper ID here, shipper ID there. And it's a many to one, which is just the reverse of one to many. Depending, if the shipper table were to be the one on top, it would be one to many. But because the fact table is the one on top, that's why it's many in this fact side and one here. And you can see here it says the cardinality, which is the many to one. And then here you can see cross filter. I mean, data can flow from, you see the arrow here, this downward arrow shows that data flows from here to filter the fact table. If there is a many to many or if there is a bidirectional, meaning that data can flow from here to filter here or data can flow from here, that's the bidirectional, and that's what you will see here. So in both directions, no, it's just single direction, this way down. I can change that, but you see it's asking me to apply, but I'm not going to do that. So that is that. And then here you can see it's like make this relationship active, because you can have a relationship and that relationship may not be active, but you can activate that relationship by using DAX query or DAX function to activate it when you need that relationship to be activated. So this is okay for me. I'll just click on save. I don't even need to, because I've done it's already done before. And the same thing goes for every of this one. They're just the same thing right now, because in same fact that. Now let's create a relationship between these two. Now the the you have dates here and you have other date, you have um, required date, and we have the ship date. So those are the three dates that we have. And for us to be able to do any or to create any measure based on any of these dates, there must be a relationship between the date table to end all of these three date columns in the fact table. So for that to happen, we were going to create a relationship, but then one thing which you need to bear in mind as well is that the in Power BI or in Power BI, you can only have one active relationship at a time. And in this case, we will need three relationships. So the three cannot be active at the same time. But we can have inactive relationship that, like I said earlier, can be activated by using DAX function in your DAX query when you need this. Okay, so now our first one is the most important one, which is because the first thing is the date the order was placed. If there is no other place, there won't be a required date, neither there would there be a ship date. So the order is the one. So this is the one that is going to be active for us in this situation. So all I have to do is just come in here and then click on this and hold down my mouse and drag it. You can see I'm dragging it and go and drop it on the column in the other table that you want to create the relationship with. And I click on that and you can see it's brought it back. It says date one and it's showing us this, and it says one to many, which is true. We have one July, but in the fact table, there could be many orders placed in one day, or many orders shipped in one day, or many orders required in one day. So that is why it's a one here to many here. And you can see make this relationship active. Yes. And I click on save. And it's created that relationship. You can see now it's created that relationship. But now we're going to create the next two ones. So I just move this one. I come back and I pick on that and I bring it to my required date. And you can see it's still the same thing, but it's joining onto the required date and it's a one to many. But you can see here, make this relationship is now unchecked. By default, it's unchecked. Yes, because this relationship will not be active. And then I click on save and it's going to come out as a dotted line. You can see it's come out as dotted line, not a solid line like this, meaning that if you see any relationship like this, mean it's an inactive relationship. And then I do the same for the ship date, date, date to that. And it's one too many as well. And then I click on save. And you can see, so I've created the relationship and we're good to go. So all I have to do now is just click on my, you won't see any much changes here. Let me remove this because I don't want to carry it along. Uh, delete from model, yes. And it's going to delete suppliers. I didn't need it. Okay, so now this is my data, or my model done now. So you can see it's done. So now, Power BI, let me come to this. You can see my fact table here. When you see the sigma against any column, it means that that column is a numeric column. It means that that column is numeric. Okay, that is, it can be aggregated, average, sum, mean, and other stuff like that. So the discount, yes, it is the freight, it is the customer ID, sorry, order ID is not. And sincerely, I don't even need the order ID in this report. So what I can do, I can go and remove that in my Power Query, which was an oversight. But you can see my dates, they're not showing, and this one's except for this. And I can change that if I want. But if I want to change the data type for this, I'll click on that. And then at the top here, you can see the properties. And then you have the order name, that's the name of that column. And then it's showing you the data type. I can change that because it's not supposed to be numeric, is an identifier. Yes, it's numbers, but in this circumstance, I don't need it uh, as number. It will still remain as 1, 2, 3, but I will not have the property of addition or aggregation. So I change that to text. I click on that and I change that to text, and the sigma sign will disappear. Click on that, and you can see the sigma sign has disappeared because it's no longer numeric. Though if I come here, you will see it's still going to show as numbers. Let's see, go back in here and go into tables. Sorry, and you can see It's still showing as number, but this is not stored as number. They're stored as character. And that is why anything, a character starts from left to right, but numeric start from right to left. Okay. And in this case as well, I want to change this one. I don't want this my dates in this format. I can click on this one, and you can see here, it's saying me its date. I can do multiple at the same time, so instead of me doing it one after the other. So I've selected that. I will hold down my control and then select the shift key, and then come on, shift and control. Come on, you should be able to do the two together. No, should be able to do the two together. Why? Control. I know. You should be able. No, it's not letting me. Okay, let me see if I can do it from here that way. I just trying this, this, and this. The three of them. mm, It's not letting me do that, so I'll take that out. Okay, let me take it out. Before you should be, we should be able to select everything. I don't need you now. Okay. So I can still do it. I like that date. And here, I can come in here and change the format for my date. So the formats for my date, you can see the different types of formats you can apply. But the one I want is this. And it's going to change. I do the same for my required, and I do the same for my shipped date. Okay. So if I come back now, go back
Sorry.
into this, you can see that the date format has changed now. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody.
just a quick one, please. You know the bit where you were trying to do the relationship with the dates. There was
Mhm.
an option that says make this active. Is there a reason why we didn't do that to make it
I explained
active?
that. I did explain that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't listen.
I
Sorry.
said you can only have one active relationship, and we have three relationship in the date table because in the date to the fact table, right? This
Okay.
one. We have ship date, we have the order date, we have the ship
Okay.
required date, and we have the ship. You can only
Okay.
have one relationship.
Okay.
So
Cool.
our active relationship is this one,
Mm-hmm.
and these other ones are inactive, and that is why they are dotted lines, not solid line like the other ones.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
so
Thank
if I had gone in and I have said this one properties, and I click on this, right? It says there's an ambiguity part here because I already have one date um column active, which is my order date. I cannot have two. You have to choose one. So in this case, that is why this is unchecked. Okay.
you. Thank you.
Mm. So now I have this, and what I have is simple. With this, you can develop, you can create your visuals and all the stuff like that. But there's still a problem, and the problem is we call it context transitioning. And the context transition means that Power BI works on columns, but you can force it to work on columns and rows. But to do that, you need to create measures. So now, if I come in here, I want to create some visuals. These are my visuals. Let's look at this one. This is a table. If I come in, I drop it, I click on it, and it comes into the canvas. You can see the data sources has disappeared. And then I can begin to drop my um, columns into here. So say, for example, I just come in, I drop it. You can see employee ID, drop it there. Which other one? Other ID. Let me just do that. Other ID. Okay. Product ID, shipper ID, Okay, and you can see the ones, the columns I've selected are checked. Okay, so I want the employee ID, and you can see everything is there. And let's now see my order date, my required date, my ship date, and then I have the freight. And here I have my quantity, and I have my unit price. I have the unit price and I have the discount. More or less, you see, I've selected everything in the table here. And you can see. And you can see here, it is not here, when it's numeric, it says sum. I can access to sum, I can access not to sum, but it's done the aggregation for me. That is just what to tell you. And then now I have that table, which is my fact table here like this. And you can see it's done the total sum for each one for me without even asking. Okay. But now this is not what I want to do, because why? If I want to look at what happened last year compared to what happened this year, I can't see. Because why? This is just the bare basics. What I need to do for me to be able to do that, right, is for me to now begin to bring in what is called the DAX query, create a DAX query. So you can see I have, there was a table which I created, which has got the amount. I think, let me check. This is not the right one for me, because I know we have already created um, the amount. This is this one. There's another fact. Oh, okay, yeah. I think it's this one. Yes, this is this one. So I will take that out and bring this in. This is the one that I need. I need to clean up for next session. Okay, so let's go back. I want to remove this table and bring in a new one. So I just go back in here, and it brings me back in here. And I want to remove this. But first, let me go and bring in the one I want. And what I needed is, let me see, this one. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So I click on that, and it's going to ingest that in now, import as well. And that is it. And I don't need this one again, and I can delete that. Remove from model. Where is it? Delete. Okay, and I'll change that. And I can rename it here as well. So that I can do that. I even call it orders, so that makes it easy. And I don't need this column. Let me clean that up as well. I don't need that column. In fact, mm, this is my fact. I don't need the city. Where do I have the shipper in here? I already have the shipper ID. I have wait. I have the customer ID, I have the employee, I have the product, I have the supplier. So I need the supplier now. Yes, I need the supplier, I need the shipper ID, but I don't need the shipper name because I already have the shipper ID and the ship city. I can create another dimension for this. Mm, I can create another dimension for this, which I can create in here. Okay, let me do something. I will bring back the other ID. I'll bring back the other ID. Let me go and bring in the supplier as well. Again, and I have the supplier. Okay, so this one, call it suppliers. And I need a supplier ID, which is there. I need a supplier name. I don't need a contact. In fact, okay. I don't need the row. And remove columns. That's the supplier details. Okay. So I have the suppliers, and then my orders is this. I have my order ID. I have that. I have that. Okay. So now what I want to do here, that's fact orders. I want to create a new table, which is going to show me, because I want a clean supplier order table. So I want to now create a new dimension, which is going to be show me the order plus the order ID plus the shipping address. That is where the shipping is going to. And if I want, I can link it back to the supplier as well. So I'll right click on this and I'll say duplicate. It will create a copy of this. And this duplicate now, this is I need this column. I don't need this column. I don't need this. I don't need this supplier. Let me leave the supplier. I don't need this. I don't need this. In fact, let me just select the ones I need. I need this. I need this. People's number. I need the ship city, which is where the product is going to. Mm. Wait, what is the product ID here? Order ID here is the same. 1040. So it's the same order ID. It's going to the same address. So I need that. I need that. I need that. I need that. And I need that. So have I selected ones? Okay, yeah. And then I can now say remove other columns. So this is now what I have. So this is linking back to the other and then the supplier as well. If I want to say by the supplier, that's it. And I can give this one, I'll call it shipment details. Okay. That's my new table, which I've just created. Not part of it. This one, I've removed that. So now in my orders table, I can now come in and remove this, 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 and this. I don't need them here. Remove columns. So, yep. And here, I can make the change here as well for this, which is, it's not numeric. I can select here and then I say change type, and then I can say text. And this one too, if you see, it's text, you can see the identifier here is ABC, means it's a text. 1, 2, 3 means it's numeric, it's numbers. Okay, and then the date, it will show you just an image of a calendar. So this one is not supposed to be numeric. This, and this, they're not supposed to be numeric. And then I click and then change format, and then I put them to text. And you can see it's changed those ones. This one is numbers. Yeah, we're good. So these are all my tables now. I think we're good. And then it's going to reload. And you can see, because that table is missing, that is why it is showing blank. It's not seeing it again. And I'll delete that. See that? So now let's go back to our model to go and make some changes. You can see there's been a lot of changes. Okay, it's showing what I would need to do. Because in those tables, they still recorded, yeah, that is that, and then my fact. Okay, and you know why? Because the data type are not the same. So to make it easy for us, let's just go back to into this one. This one, select that. Oh, I'm in there. Come in here. Let's go back to that and make the change. And here I need to make the change. Select change type. Let's change type. I change it to text. Change type. That's okay. I've made a change there. Okay, so close and apply. If we come back into the model, should have made a change, but no worries. So let's create our relationship. It's created that the employee, and this is shipper. Where's the shipper ID? So my shipper ID here, I put it to the shipper ID. See, shipper one to many, active, show me, and I say save. Created that employee, bring that into employee here. Yes, employee ID to that. And then product ID, take that, join it to this. Let's do the supplier ID. Supplier ID to supplier ID. Okay, this one I'm going to be joining on the other ID. The ID. Okay, now it's telling me, you can see it's showing me many to many, which I don't want. And the reason, okay, I can, I have to go and make some changes, which I don't want to do. I have to go and make some changes in my SQL to create this, but I don't want to. What I will just do is create a concatenated ID, which is joining the other ID with the supplier ID together. It will give me unique. right, but in this case, I won't do that. Even if I do the supply ID, it will be one too many. So let me leave this out of the way. I'll take it out. I won't join it. Love work. So now let's do the order date. Yes, that to that. Yeah, can go. And then the date to the required date as well. You see, it's not going to make this active because we already have one active from the same table. Okay, and then the same thing for the ship date. It's not going to be active also. Okay. Though here you can see I still have that relationship. The shipper, I can go from the shipper to this one as well. So okay, let's leave it. Let's go from the shipper. And this has actually changed our model to what is called a snowflake, right? Said it looks like a snowflake because this is supposed to be flowing this way from one direction, but directly to the fact table. But now with this, we're going to have a layer on the supplier is the details is coming from the supplier to, and this supplier now is our lookup to the shipment details. So this one comes on top of that. Okay, so you can see this one down instead of everything flowing one direction. So that's still okay. So we have that, and then go back here now. So we're ready to go. But before we go, because I'm going to be creating some measures, I'll not be um, like mentioned earlier, the limitation we have when you don't create DAX measures is that you cannot slice the way you want to. You want to see year by year and other stuff like that. There's no functionality like that. It's very rigid. So to break that is you need to create what is called a DAX measure. So, and I always want, you can create the measure, but always put your measures in the same place. So in this case now, I'll create a blank entry, click on here, and it's going to come in. I just call it key measures. It's just a folder that will hold all the DAX measures that we're going to be created, key measures. And I click on load. That's just it. It's going to appear here, but it's going to change. You can see here, it says key measures. It's thinking it's looking at it like a table, but it's actually not going to be a table. So the first thing we're going to be creating is we're going to be creating um, our average quantity. So to create our average quantity, we have our tables. And where's our average quantity going to come from? It's going to come from our orders table. So I will, where's that? Right click on that. And then you see, you right click and then you can select any of these to perform. So this I now say create new measure. So click new. And then it comes here, it says measure, which is the where you have measure, that is where you put the name you want to give this measure you are creating, and your query or your criteria, your parameters will follow after the equal sign. So this one, we're going to call it average quantity, average quantity. You can write the name whichever way you want, whichever suits you. So now I want to find the average quantity. So I say average, and you see when I begin to type, it brings in the IntelliSense, and you have average, average A, and average X. I'm not going to be going into the details. The one we need here, you go and read up on the difference of difference between all these. But if so, I'll click on average, and it's telling me I should give the column name that I want to use. So, and I can select from here. You can see. So I know my average quantity is in my fact order table. So you come to fact order, and then I'm looking for my average quantity, or you can type it if you don't want to do this. You can type it, and this is my average quantity, and I select, and then I close the bracket. You see the bracket, first one after average is red. It means that it requires a closing bracket. So I close that, right? And I click on commit, and it's going to appear here. And you can see here, I now have a measure, and you can see it's showing me like a calculator because it's a calculated measure. I created it. Okay. So now I don't need this column one. It's just the placeholder. When you're creating a table, there must be an object in it. That's why by default it created that. So I don't need that. And you see, once I remove that, it's going to change these key measures into another, it's going to give it another logo, because why? It is changing from a table to a virtual table, a physical table to a virtual table. So I click on delete from model. It says, I say yes, and look at that, it's going to move. You can see that, and you can see it's changing key measures to this two calculators to show that it's a calculating categorization folder, right? And that's it. So the next one I want to create is um, let's create our total sales amount, right? Our total sales amount. We've used average, so right click again, new measure, and then I'll call this one total. Oh, do I call it total sales or total order amount? Total. Let's call it sales amount, and then equals, and then it's a sum because I'm summing the column. So it's going to give me the total from the first row to the last row, because you remember I mentioned to you that um, Power BI works on a columnar basis, but you can transform that by using another keyword, which I'm a function, which I will show you later. So now our total sales is going to be from our facts. If I want to limit it now, you see, it's only going to filter for me fact, oh, fact orders. So I'm looking for the total total amount. What's this one? I think it's this one. Let's go and look at that. I don't know the difference anymore. I've forgotten. Sorry. Let's look at that. And let's look at that. Amount, actual amount. So this is the one. Yeah, this is the total actual amount without discount. Without discount, and this is the discounted amount. Okay. So this is our total actual. Okay. And that's our real totals. So, and that is it. And it's created that. So based on that, let's create another one. Total discounted amount. Okay, and then it's sum, and it's fact, and it's discounted amount. Okay, that's created as well. Let's create our total discount as well. Total discount. And it's fact. And because we already created that, it's easy. And what else do I have? Let me see. Okay, I've done that. I've done that. Okay, let's create a total freight amount. Okay, what else? Mm, We can do, mm, do we don't have cost here, so we've done quantity. Let's do, that's our average quantity. Let's do let's do total quantity as well. So it's going to be some. Okay, we've created that. Now let's do our minimum quantity and our maximum quantity. You're wondering how I'm arriving at this. It's the measures you're going to create depends will emanate from your requirement, which is the dashboard or the report you are required to create. Okay, but because I've done this over and over, that's why I just know what and what. Okay, so let's look at our um, minimum mean quantity. Quantity. So mean quantity, I'll just say mean. You see that? And I'll now say fact quantity is going to calculate the minimum quantity for us and then enter. And then I want to create another one, which is my max. Where's it? Max. Fact is quantity. I click on that. Okay. Um, um, in this case, do I have cost here? I don't have cost. I don't have cost. Do I have in the data? Do I have? Let's look at the tables. Product. That's my unit price. So it's not even telling me the quantity, the cost. So I can't even calculate the cost. Because if I have the cost, that's the quantity, that's the unit price multiplied. So that's the price they're selling. But it's not telling me the cost of manufacturing or the cost of acquiring that product before sale, before adding the add up. So I can't calculate the cost, profit rather, but I can calculate I already have the discount and I have okay. Okay. What I can also do is Let's do, um, I've done the discounted, right? I can now find over a period of time, how much discounts have we given? Okay. And then over a period of time, how much sales have we given as well? Okay, so let's create this, which is, this is going to be a bit different from what we've created. I mean, this one, I'm going to call this one, is cumulative sales. Okay. And I'm now going to use a new function, which is called the calculate. Go and read it up. It says calculate. Okay. It says evaluate an expression in context modified by filter. So I want to do that. And I want to bring in my discounted amount. Hmm. Sorry, cumulative sales. I'm coming. If I'm doing cumulative sales, am I doing it on the before discount or after discount? Let's do it on the discounted amount because that's actually the actual money that comes to us. Okay, so let's do total discounted amount. You see, because I've created this as a measure, it will come up here and you can see. So I'll just select that. So that's my discount. And then I say comma and go to the next line. Always good to write your query in that. There is say filter. I want to filter the date table now. So I want to filter on the date table because it's a data range between this date and this date. What is the total sales we have made? So you can look at it quarterly, yearly, and all the stuff like that. So looking at it on the dates, I say, no, I want to break down all and then dates. Sorry, you will get to learn this. If I have to go through the details of this, it will take a long time to explain, but I'm giving you just the building blocks so that you can go and do your own research. So dates, okay, which is I'm looking at it on the dates level, which is to filter on the calendar. Sorry, on the calendar, and then I'm not say dates dates equal or less than uh my max date. And my max date is going to come from my dates table again. Dates and date. So I'm taking a date, two dates. But for me to get my two dates depends on the date I pick as my maximum date, right? And then it will filter down from that day back. If I say 31st of January 2025, we will filter down to from 31st of January, we include 31st of January 2025 and back to 2024, 2023, and other stuff like that. And then I can put in the date range as well. Okay. So that closes that, that closes that, and that closes that. Okay. So I think I'm covered. Let me see. Do I still have one? Yeah. No. Do I have too many? Yeah. I'm passing in too much. Okay, too few arguments in the filter. I'm passing all dates. Yet I'm passing this, I pass this. Okay. Okay. Okay, that one covers that. That covers that, and that covers that. That should be fine. What is happening? Few arguments were passed in the filter. The minimum argument is 2. Yes, my first argument is this. My second argument is this. Did I put a comma here? Yeah, I did a comma there. So why am I getting this error? Why am I getting this error? Date. Calculate total discount amount. Filter all. Yes, that is all to open this up. And it's going to. Why? Let me do something. Okay, 2 free arguments. I have that. Look at my date calendar and get the date. And if the date is my second argument is less than or equal to, okay, dates, the date, yeah, so I'm right. And it's max of this, and then it's dates, okay, and that should do. No. Why? All right, why? Why? Too few arguments. This is my first parameter, and this is my second parameter. Oh, okay, I know why. Sorry, I can see that. Okay, I'm supposed to close that bracket first. And yeah, I'm good now. Okay, I can say it's good now. So I have my cumulative, and then that is my cumulative for one period. I can build on this one again. So let's go and build up on this one and build another one. And it's called cumulative. So LY stands for last year. So now I'm going to do another calculate and calculating. I need to do, okay, I can only do this. Okay, let me do something first before I do this. I need a measure, instead of writing it longhand, I need a measure that will look at it. Okay, let me change this to discounted last year. What did I call this one? Total discount amount last year. Total discount amount last year. So do calculate and I do discount. No, it's total discount. Total discount amount. Now I want to say if I select 20, sorry, and the years in this thing is 2016 to 2000 and sorry 1996 to 1998. So if I select 2018 2000 and why am I saying 2000? If I select 1999, sorry 1998 rather, sorry. If I select 1998 and I want to see the total discounted sales last year, which is 1997, then that is what I'm trying to create here. If I select 1997, I want to see 1996. So, okay, so you say, I have when we say there's this another function which is called same period last year. Okay, and we're going to pass in the date table, date. Okay, because it's on that basis, and close that, close that, and that should create it for Twitter discount last year. It's 3 o'clock. Okay, and which one? So now create cumulative sales last year. So it's just easy cumulative sales last year. I'll just copy the script here and I'll just make the changes. Copy and then paste it instead of me having to write it all out. And then I'll just add it ly and I'll just change this to business space ly as well. Okay, and quite easily I've created that as well. Now you may be wondering, what is the purpose of creating all this? Let's look at quantity last year, and we can even do 2 years back as well, but let's look at quantity last year. So you create a new measure. I will call it, come on, do I have it? What did I call that? Total quantity? Yeah, total quantity last year. ly, and it's going to be calculate. Now I'm forcing it to move out of rows, sorry, column to go into rows. That will now be my total quantity, which I already have created. And then I'm saying same period last year. And I'm passing in my dates and date. And then I close that and I close that. Okay. And so now to our question, let's now begin to create. I've created a few measures. Don't want to bombard you with too many. Created some few measures. So let's see, what can we begin to create? What do we want to see? First, let's look at it this way. For you, I want to see the sales by the employee. For me to do that, I need to come in at the table form. So come on here. And then here, before you begin, you can also modernize your canvas as well. You can change your canvas. If you come in here, let's put some visuals in there first. So now let's put in this one. I want to see, you see all the measures we created earlier. Let's bring in cumulative sales into this. You can see that is everything. What this cumulative sales is because it's coming from our total discount amount. So let's go back to the table and I'll show you what it has done here. Okay, you can see this column, which is the actual, what that measure we created is just summing up everything in here in this column without regard to any of these other. It's just looking at this column and it's summing everything together in that column. Okay, when I did cumulative, sorry, if I do total freight, it will sum up everything in this column as well. When I did quantity, it will sum up everything in here. When I did average quantity, what it does is sum up everything and divide it by the number of occurrence. So that gives us an average quantity. Okay. So back here, so this is the total sales, 88,000, right? That's the for 1 year. And let's look at it. If I bring in this other one, you see what is going to happen. And this is what it did last year. Now, 55. This is without any context. And what I mean by we've not applied any filters to this. Okay, it's assuming a year here, and it's assuming another year, which is the previous year before this one. So to give it more visibility, you can now bring in your, this one is called a slicer. You can see I'm highlighting that slicer. And what I want to do, you will see, click on that, it brings that in. And then this is where our relationship comes in. And then I come in here and I want to put in the year into that one. And you can see it's brought in all the years for me. So now, if I click on this, I come into here, no, I come into here, no, let's do it from here. Uh, okay, you can see I've clicked that one and it's brought me here. I want to see this, the property, I want to format this slicer. So I don't want the title. I don't want the title. Sorry. I don't want the title. So it's not, so the header, I don't want that. It's taking that off because everybody, you know that that's the header. And then the values, I can make changes to it as I want. Say I want it boldened. You can see it's changed that and other stuff. And then you can see here, I have the blank, which I don't need. So if I come here, it says filter, I click on that because it's telling me the, and then I select everything and I deselect this. So you see it's removed that. And then I can press it up this way. So now look at what is going to happen to this cumulative when I select the years now. Let me select 1996 rather. You can see it's only showing me 1996. It's not showing me the previous year because there is no previous year data in here. There's no 1995. That is why this is blank. But if I move to 1997, then you see it's showing me this value is for 1996. This is for 1997. And then here, if I select that, you can see 90, this is the value for 1998, and that's the value for 1995. Sorry, 1997. You can see that's the value 1997, and that's the value in 1996. So if I select 1998 now, this will be last year. This 59,000 will be last year. Okay, and that is it. Okay, so now let's now, you can see it's giving me the sum. It has not filtered it. And you will now see how it will begin to expand when I begin to add some different, some more um, columns into it. So if I come back in here and I go back to my data, and I now say, okay, yes, I have that. I now want to see it by employee's full name. So I select this, it's highlighted, and then I bring in employee's full name, and you see how it's going to break that down. And I can come in and just drop it in here as well. You see, and I can move it about the way I want. So it's brought it there. I can now move it up if I want and drop it. So you can see, and you can see how it has broken it down by each person. And that's the beauty of the relationship which we have created in the data in the behind the scene. And you can see for each employee, you can see what this Margaret Peacock did in 1998 and compared to what she did in 1997, meaning there's been a progress. Okay. And you can now find again the increase or decrease in our sales as well. And then if I begin to add more to this, it will begin to expand further and further. Okay, so Now she's on that. But this time around, I don't want to do this. I just want to see, let's do a cleaner thing. I've just explained that. So we have that. And now I want to bring in the quantity, total quantity. Where's total quantity? That's the total quantity. I want to bring in the total freight. I want to bring in the sales amount and the discounted amount. Sales amount, total sales amount. That's the discounted. And where's the total sales? Total sales. Okay. So I've created a table. And now if I want, I can still change this and you can move it whichever way. So now the name, I want to change the headers here. I don't like what they're showing. I can change that. Instead of me changing it here, I'm only going to change it and it's only going to affect this visual. It's not going to affect the measures here. So each one, I'll just change this. Say I right click on the column I want. It says rename for this visual and I click on that. And then I can call this, instead of even calling it, I can call it employee and then click out of it. You can see, oh no, I should have clicked in there. Employee. Okay. And you can see it has reflected here. And this, change that as well to quantity of total. Let's get it right. And I'll just call it discounted amount. Okay. And this one, I'll call it actual. Let me just call it sales amount. Okay. And you can see it's reduced my space as well. And this one, I can now change this as well. You see, I can apply filter. It can rearrange. Clicking on, it says, and then this space, I want to reorder this way so that I can have more space. I'm saving my space. And if I need the total, I can keep. If I don't need the total, like I've highlighted here now, all I have to do is, if I don't need the total, come into here. Sorry, come into here. Where are you? Have I highlighted this? Build data format. Okay, if I don't want the total, click on that, which is the format, and then I can come in here, totals, and then I can turn it off if I want. I can turn it off and I can turn it back on if I want. And then I can make some cosmetic changes here as well. Say, for example, I want minimize that, and then the values, where's my column? Uh, the values in here, I can change the font, I can change the background, right? Everything I want to do, say the color, right? And then the background color, I can leave that in the way it is. I can change, normally I prefer Lucianda. It's not good enough for this one. Let me leave that in. Let me leave that in. So, and in the grid, you can change a lot of things as well. You can change the borders and all the stuff like that. You can change the height, the background as well. And you can select a specific column and then you can make changes as well. So say the employee column, I can change the text value. So the employee, let's make the employee value color darker, and it's not allowing me. Okay, it's applying to values. Yes, it's not applying to the header. I don't want to change the background color. Okay, I'll leave that. I don't want to do so many cosmetics because I still have a lot to cover with you. So we've created the first bit. Now, what do we want to see again? Now I want you to be more interactive. What do we want to see again? Any ideas? Huh?
The products um maybe the suppliers and the locations with the regions.
Okay, so in what format? Okay, let's bring in, I want to see what the suppliers did. Do we have the quantity? No. Let's see, because I'm looking at it in the data, we don't have what the supplier did in respect of, we don't have the figures that we just know that this supplier supplies this product, but we don't have the total supply um, amount from them. But we have the shippers, what they ship, and the quantity. So let's look at, I will say we sold 88,000 in 1998. How much of this, out of this, how much, let's break this down by the supply, by the shippers. Okay. So what I can do is bring in a new visual. So instead of me having to have it as a table, and that's the beauty of Power BI. Instead of me having to have it as a table, I can have it as a other chart, another chart. So this time around, I want to see, because we have three suppliers, don't we? Let's bring in this one, which is the line chart cluster column chart. Okay, this one, and I'll now bring in here. It says the x-axis. I will bring in my x-axis. I will bring in the supplier. Where's my supplier? Oh, sorry, my shipper rather, shipper x-axis, and then total discounted amount in my, and you can see by supplier, sorry, by shipper, sorry. Okay, that is what each shipper has done. And that is in 1998. In 1997, it will change. In 1996, it will change. That's the beauty of what we have created, because that is the beauty of DAX. That is what is making this possible. And you can see for each of these employee as well. So this filter here is not just, is affecting every other thing. Okay, so now let's do the discounted, let's do the amount by year for each. Okay, that's the shipper. Okay, let's do it by, um, let's do it, let's do it, bring in a pie chart. Let's bring in a pie chart. Uh, okay, and this one, I will do it, uh, let's do quantity. No, detail is this, no, sorry, quantity is my value, and I'll do this by, I'll do this by, let's do it by, yeah. No, we've done the total amount, and then we can do the, we've seen that. We want to be more diverse. Okay, let's say by product. It's too busy. It's too busy. Let's see it by. Quantity, where do we have country? Where do we have the country? Okay, let's do it by region. Where do we have a country? We didn't bring the country. Okay, we had the country here. So let's do it by country. But it's too busy as well. It's too busy. I can change this. I'll bring in something else. So let's do, I'll change it to a tree map. Where's my tree map? Uh, where's my tree map? Once I click on it, because I've already highlighted on it, and I click on another visual, it's going to change this to this visual. So it's changed it to that, so you can see it by. So the bigger the shape of the square, that's the bigger the quantity. And here now, I can now do some other things. So if I click on there and then do a format on this one, it's my format. So do a format. I don't want the title, right? I can hide the title. So I can hide hide the title. And then now I can see here, I want to see the data, right? So I want to see, turn it on, and I want to see the value. That is it. That is it. Auto, yes. And I click on that. It should show me. Uh, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Then let us put in. So which, if I did auto, it will round it up to the nearest thousand. So that as well, but I don't want, I want to see the actual one. So that's why I just remove none, no. And then I can make it bolder. And if I want, I can make the color darker so that it will contrast as well. To move this, I can spread it whichever way, but I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to manage my space. That is why I'm doing this. So the smaller the quantity will show. And then here, there is what is called the tooltip. If I over it, it's giving me the country and the quantity, and you can see it can always change. Even here, you see that one will tell me. So the information is not lost. Okay. So tooltip, don't forget that. And then let's amend this one as well. I want to see, I don't want a title one, and then the labeling, yep. Data label, let me bring the data label in. You can see that, and then I can change that, my data label. Where is it? Mhm. Position, yeah, you can choose where you want the position to be. Um, Inside and outside and whichever way you want it. But let's leave it at as it is. It looks a bit better. And then my X and Y axis, I can decide to close that. It says remove that. I don't want that. And then I'll do the same thing for my Y axis as well. Uh, so it gives me more space. So because I already have this. And then this one, I can now my data label, I want to make it a bit bolder. Make that a bit bolder. And then what else do I want to change? What else do I want to change? Mm, quite a few things, but let me leave this for now. Okay, let's do quantity by year in the pie chart. Pie, come on, pie chart, and I want to do quantity by year. This is quantity by country. So, and I want to do quantity by year because I've selected 22. So you can see now this has changed as well because it's now looking at it everything, not just a year. This is because I've deselected the year. So it's looking at everything. But now, just to show you something. Okay, let me continue first. Because we can also do is if I select this slicer, if I don't want it to affect any of these visuals which I have here, then I can do that. But for now, let's just continue, then I will look into that. And then I also want to see using pie chart, I want to see the discount amount by year. Mm, Discount amount, and I want to see it by year. And then it says coming to count. I don't want it to count. So what I'll do in that case is select that, and you see I'll select don't summarize, don't count. It's counting it because it's numeric. Mm, Come on, it should. Oh, my bad. I wasn't supposed to put it there. I'm supposed to put it in the details. Okay, and then you can see. So total quantity by year, and that's the sales by year as well. And you can see that's the by the shippers as well. And you can also do a lot of other things here. Now, I did, I'm short for space. So I need to move some things about a little bit just to get some space. Um, some would get smaller. So now I have created this. I have my year filter. In fact, let me do it. I have your year filter. And now I can, let me do, I have the year filter. I want to see some things. So the mean, the max, and all the stuff like I've created earlier, let's see how we bring that in. So what you can use for this, you can use what is called the card. You can see this one I'm clicking on. It's just going to display one value. So I click on that, brings me that card. I put it up here, small, and then I bring in my average quantity into it. And you can see my average quantity. And then I can make changes to this. So my label, reduce that. No, I reduce that average quantity, make it darker. And I do. And my font is too big, so I want to reduce that. Why is that? Am I still selecting that? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's this one, label category. Okay, it's reduced that as well. I want it to still go down a little bit. Let's do it at 30, so I can have it this way. Now, instead of me to be repeating for the other ones which I want to do, all I'll just do is click on it, and then it says copy. I can copy this visual, and then Control V to paste it. So I made a copy of it. I want to, so I do another Control V, and then I take it out. So this one is going to be my max. Drop the max in here as the max quantity that was ordered in any period of time. And this one is going to be my mean. That's my mean. Okay. So you see that if I select this, this is going to, it's not telling me the true story, but you can see there's things I can do that will not affect this one. And this one, you can see changes and it changes. Okay. Now, one other thing which I want to bring in here before I do that is I've created these two discounted last year and this year. So we want to see how the two has changed. The cumulative one, I've done the discounted, so I want to do the cumulative. And for my cumulative, I will need a different chart, and that will be my, I can use any chart, but let's use my area chart. So if I click in anywhere, and that's my area chart, and I'm going to move things about anyway, so don't worry. And then I have um, my date, which is my year in the x-axis, and then the y-axis, I have my cumulative, and I'll still put in my, you can see here, it can take more than one. So I still have my cumulative last year. So now it's showing me the difference. Visually, you can see the difference between the two in the 2 years as well. So 1996, that was only started in 1996. So it goes up, and then 1997. So this, between this and this, you can see the difference, and between this and this, you can see the difference as well. So now let's arrange this so that we can, how do I do this? Sometimes it's, let me do this way. Uh, this way, and I've not done the dressing up of this. Do I want the title? No. I want the legend. Yes. Um, y-axis value. Yes. Y-axis value. Yeah, because I already have that. Yeah, cumulative, so I don't need it there, I need it. And what else am I doing? Mm, You can put the later data label on. Yes, so that gives it more visibility. I can now take that out on the y-axis. Yes, and then the legend. No, keep the legend. I can now give it a title here. I can give it a title there, which is I don't even need a title for it, so I'll just keep that. I'll keep that for now. Yeah, it's gone off now. But this is better. Then here, The arrangement, the aesthetics now depends on you and depends on what, if there's a requirement for that. Okay. So this one is good enough this way. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a change. This one, I want to change the formatting. So what I have to do is slicer setting. I've selected that and I want to change it from vertical to tiles. And that way I can turn it this way. You can see. So okay. And then I can now I have and then I can now bring in, I want to give it a header. So here now what I'll do is go into text box, click on that. That's what I'm going to make my header. And I can give it a title. Do I want it? So here, I can play around with it. Custom, what do I want to do? Our database is not wind, so not wind. Oh, one word, not wind. Sales analysis. Okay. And then select, and then I can increase the font to 18. And then I can also centralize it and font color. You can choose other colors from here, so you can mix your own color from here. On the deep, let me do deep green. Yeah. And then it's done that for me. And then I select that. Okay. And it's done that. And then I can make it bold. Okay. And if I want, I can make it around and then I can create a background as well. Background, let's see, background. and I can have a feel for it. Let's make it. Mm, mm, okay, you can see that I can change as I want. So let's assume that is it. If you want to put your company logo, you can put it each any side you want, greater the space. But now you can see here now, when I select the year, it filters, and I don't want this wants to be filtered when I click on this. So what I will do is click on that, and then here it says format. No, where is that? Yeah. No, where is that? Wait, wait. Have I forgotten so soon? Okay, data drill, where is that? Modal, no, not here. View, no, not here. Not here, not here, not here, not here. Where is that? Where is it? I think it's still here. Oh, sorry, that's it. Edit interaction in format, edit interaction. So I click on edit interaction and it shows, you can see what is now. So because I've selected it and I've seen edit interaction, this one, I don't want it filtered when I select anything here. So what I will do is, see here, none, and I will make it none. So it will not filter it. And then I don't want it to filter this also. So it will not filter it. So when I step out of it, now, if I come in here, it's not going to, well, you see, it's filter this, but it will not filter this. No, I don't want it to filter this as well. So I'll come back and do that. And then you can see it will not filter this. It will not filter this. So let's come back to edit interaction. I've selected that again. I go to format, edit interaction. Okay. And this one, I also say no. So when I filter, when I click on this, it will not affect these ones. They will remain constant. Stuff like that. So this is my report. Though I can go deeper than this, but for this stage, I will leave it at this. Any questions? Unmute yourself, ask your questions while I'm doing the window dressing. Any questions for me? So need to.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
My question would be about the data source, because we use the import method. So let's say, for instance, there is an update on the actual data itself. Do I need to do a refresh?
Yeah, you already need to. I'll show you in a minute. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
guys. When you publish this to Power BI service, which I'm not going into in this class, but when you publish it to Power BI service, then you can schedule your refresh as well. We'll come in just one sec. Okay, yeah. So here, because this is still in Power BI desktop, if there's a change in data, say the data, this data is for yesterday, and I need to, there's a new data that is coming to the database overnight or something like that, and I need to refresh this. All you have to do is just come here. You see the button here, refresh. When you click on refresh, you see it's refreshing, and that's it. It will refresh. But because the data is, there is no new data in our database, that's why there's no change. If there was data, it will have changed. Let me see if
Yes.
I can have, if I have, because I've not logged into Power BI service in a long time. Let me see if I have, I can show you. Though, for you to do that also, you still need, okay, you need um, another tool, software which you need to download, which is also free. It's called the Power BI Gateway. You download your Power BI Gateway, and your Power BI Gateway will connect your data source to your Power BI service, and then you can refresh. Okay, so let's look at it in my workspace now. Because it's, you see here, that's my workspace, Power BI service, and this is my report. Yeah, this is my report. Okay, here now, what is strong? Where's my model? I should be my model somewhere. I'm coming. Yeah, that's analytics. Where's my model? Power BI has just changed lately, and I've not been here in a while because this is not the same thing I have at work. Workspace. It should be my workspace. It's deleted my model. Okay, that's my semantic layer here. It's showing me graphically. This is my semantic layer. Okay, but it has removed. Okay, you can see here it says refresh now. I can click on refresh, but I know if I click, it's going to fail. I set it up, but it's going to fail because I've made changes to the underlying data. You can even see the last time you tried to refresh in May, and it failed. So I want to see where. Okay, good. Here I can schedule my refresh. You can see it shows me my refresh history, but for me to create a new refresh, um, you see here is asking for my gateway and cloud connection, which is what I mentioned. You can see my gateway are not available. I've not touched them, so I will go and look at that later on. But then I need to connect to a gateway, and then once I connect to the gateway, I can now come into refresh here. And then because there's no gateway, this is not activated. I will now be able to select, configure it to when and how I want it to refresh. If I want it to refresh every day, every week, the time and the day I want it to refresh, then it will kick in and do the refresh for me automatically. Though, if you set it to whatever time you set it to, right, that is the time you want. But Microsoft said they do not guarantee that your refresh will happen at that time, though they will do their best to make sure it happens at that time, but they cannot guarantee. But it will happen not too long after that because they will be on a queue. Because we're not using our physical server, we're using Microsoft cloud server. So, and there's always a queue. So they will queue it up and then they'll get it refreshed for you as quickly as possible. But most of the time, even at work, they do the refresh do happen at that time. But they just put that caveat in there so that they cover their back. Okay. So once you set the refresh, but then if you're still in Power BI desktop, you've not published to Power BI service, then you can just come in here and click on refresh. And then when you are done like this and you want to publish to Power BI service, one thing you need to be very mindful of is that your Power BI service account must be the same as the Power BI as the account you logged in into your Power BI desktop. So you can see mine is what Yinka logo here. And if I come back in here, where's that? If I come back in here, you can see here I'm still logged in as the same thing. You understand? I'm still logged in as the same thing. But if I do not log in as the same thing, then it will not be published to this um, service account. Sorry, Power BI service rather account. So you must log in into the two with the same account. Okay. And once you're done that, you log in, and you can now click on. If I click on publish here, it's going to come in. Yes, it will ask me to save. I've not given it a name. So you ask me to save. Let me do that. I can now specify where I want it to save as. Okay, let me just I'll just call it Northwind Analysis 2025 in version 1, because I'm likely to do that again. So I click on save. And then it's asking me where do I want to publish it to. So you see, because I've logged in into the same, it's showing me what is there. So if I click on here and I click on select, and it's going to publish, you see, it's publishing it there now. And if I come back here before it gets there before me, if I come back into my workspace, you're going to see that item coming now. You can see that, which I just did now. That is it. It's just published it here now. You can see it. So if I click on this open report, and you can see what I just published now. So it's here now. And it can be consumed by so many people. But because I'm on the free version, it is only me that can consume it because it's only one account. And then it's going to be as the same thing as we have over there. If I make any change to this, yeah, got it. If I make any change here, it will not reflect immediately directly in Power BI service. I have to come and republish. Each time you make any change to your report or dashboard, then I have to come back and republish. That is when it now becomes in sync with your Power BI service. But if I make changes here and I do not republish, then the one in the cloud, which is in Power BI service, will not be the same as the one on your desktop. Okay. And in some organizations, they don't want to go the Power BI Service Pro license way. What they do is they create this and then they share it with people. They put it in one common file location and people can access it from there. But it is limited because why? If you don't have access to that folder, you can't see it. And then if there is anything that happens to that folder, you can see it. And then if somebody else makes a change, it may corrupt and save it. It may corrupt what you're seeing. So that's not always the best. So it's always good to subscribe to the Power BI organizationally, to subscribe to the Power BI Pro license, and it's only cost $10 per month, $9.99 per month. Okay, and it's billed annually. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Constance?
Yes. Right now, no. I think what my question was initially was what I was talking about, where if it was a water industry where they're looking for like leakage,
Yeah,
what?
you see, the data will determine what visual you're going to use.
Okay,
Okay, like
okay,
now you have data. I don't know how they capture the leakage. You understand?
okay,
I don't know how they capture there's a leakage here, there's leakage there. I don't know how. But whichever way, you can also have what is called, if you begin to do deeper analysis, there's what is called the outlier. You can also use another visual, which is the outlier. Where is it here? Outlier. Yeah, this one. No, scattered
Okay.
diagram. Yeah, you can use this scattered diagram to see. There will be something that will indicate that there's a leakage here, there's a leakage here, there's a leakage here, right?
Okay.
And I think probably the rate of flow of the water or whatever, or the volume would show. And where there is a difference, when there's a leakage, there will be a spike in the volume going out, okay? Or there's a drop in the pressure,
Mhm.
okay? So when you use scattered diagram, it will show you where it is above or below. If you understand what I'm saying. If the
Mhm.
pressure is below the normal standard or is above the normal standard, or the volume is above or below the normal standard, indicates that there's a problem around that area. And that's what we call the outlier. So you can also use the outlier, which is you can use this scattered diagram.
Okay.
You will see the normal scattering around the normal standard around the same place, but then they will see one or two or three that are outside above or outside below. Then those ones are called the outliers,
Okay.
right? And there's so
Mhm.
many other ways as well. You can also show it in a table form like this as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you have if you have the GIS data, the what in whatever this that's geospatial data, right? You can also show that on a map as well. Okay, there's map for using the longitude and latitude, and there's map for using the postcode or the country and the cities within the country. So you have here, you see this one, it says shape map, that's one. You see this one, it says field map, and then you see this one, that is the map as well. You can use any of this one to show, say for example, you're looking at London, it can show you when you put in the right areas, he understands it, and then you tell it, there's a way you format it that will tell you that, okay, this is a geographical data, and then you'll be able to pinpoint these places on the map as well. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions? All right. So in the absence of none, I'll say thank you very, very much for being part of this. And I do hope you gain one or two things. And I wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors. And if you have anything, please put it in the WhatsApp group chat, and then we'll respond to you as at when we can. And God bless you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
You're
Cheers.
welcome.
Bye.
All right.